Okay, video gamers, let's start with a little bit of a disclaimer or a trigger warning. If you really like Judgement, great. I appreciate you and your opinions, and you are entitled to those opinions. If this is your favorite video game ever, good for you. People like different things for different reasons. let's just get that out of the way immediately, right? And also let's add another caveat to it. I think all the Yakuza stories are bad except for Zero, basically. I think they're all pretty bad. I rarely think they're good. They have good moments in them, but a lot of that just hinges on the characters. I'm not even necessarily like a huge fan of the Yakuza games in general. Just so we've set the scene completely. So if you don't want to hear me rant about this game and its problems, then I would just suggest turning the stream off. No, don't turn the stream off. Tier 2 subscribe. And just like minimize the tab. Other different things. Here's the thing. I don't think there's a lot of. First of all, I don't think I could sufficiently describe the story problems in this game without writing everything down and creating a huge like list with like, you know, like one of those like chalkboards with the red threads between them, where you just go like, you know, this is why this is a problem, that's why that's a problem, blah blah blah. So I'm gonna try to not spend a lot of time on it, because ultimately I just think the story is a little bit problematic, I guess, and it's just one of those like it just doesn't work for me type deals. We have so much in common. I think a lot of the problems with this story are things that are kind of problems in all the Yakuza games, which is that the Yakuza games are bad at two things, I think. They're bad at creating coherent plots that make sense, and they're bad at execution. And what I mean with that is like, you know, if you take a random Yakuza game as an example, we have the Yakuza game where the game starts with a giant assassination of a bunch of people, and then it turns out later that those guys aren't dead. Oh well, they are dead, but the assassination didn't happen, because those were rubber bullets. And you're just like, what are we doing here? Why do we have rubber bullets? Like, could we really not come up with any other way to create this plot than the rubber bullets? And this game kind of does the same thing, right? Like, there's a lot of moments in this game where you're like, they're just like mashing story threads together just to make them work. And a good example of that was what happened last stream, where it's like, we know that that they're making Ado Dekonaino with a secret laboratory. So what we do is we get a guy to call a different guy, and then that guy goes to the lab, and then we follow him to the lab, and then we find the lab, but he isn't there, and then we video the lab, and then but we also call the cops to get there, because we want the cops to find the lab, and then the cops show up and they find the lab, and then Yagami is like, well, guess what? I will let you arrest me for trespassing. That means that you will have to search this laboratory. And it's like, no? If the police arrest someone for trespassing, like, maybe this is like the law in Japan? I don't know, I don't think so, but... sorry, this is for our place 8th game in the series. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I can't imagine anywhere in the world where if the police arrest you for trespassing, they are obligated or have any right to investigate the area further, right? Like, if someone broke into my house right now and I called the cops, and, you know, they grabbed the guy, the police wouldn't have any right to look through my home, right? If I was like, hey, I want you guys to investigate if he stole anything, sure. But it's not like because a crime has been committed, the police now have full authority to just do whatever they want in that area, right? That's just stuff that doesn't make any sense. And it's the same with like the court case at the end, right? I can't imagine a single legal system where you go in and you're supposed to do one thing, but then you start doing another thing, and the judges are okay with that. That just wouldn't happen anywhere, I don't think, right? Like, let's say I think Deb is a murderer. So I show up in court, and Deb is the lawyer that's opposing me, right? And during the trial, suddenly I try to turn this robbery case into a Deb is the murderer case. The judges would just be like, hello, like, this is irrelevant. If you think you have a case, to go to the police or like, you know, sue this person, right? They would be like, oh, I guess we're doing a Debatron murder case now, you know what I mean? Like, that's also just something that doesn't feel like it makes much sense. Like, we were there to prove that Ayabe was innocent. We were not there to prove that Adu Dekunaina was a giant government conspiracy, right? And there's just a lot of stuff like that that just feels very contrived and pointless for no reason. And I think the biggest, firstly, how dare you, murderer? I think the biggest problem for me is that, as with a lot of the Yakuza games, which I can usually ignore because I like Kiryu and I like the other characters, but as with a lot of the Yakuza games, they do a really bad job of presenting the characters and setting up the stakes in a believable way. So in this game, we are Yagami, whose parents were murdered, and then he aspired to be a lawyer. Or I guess because his parents were lawyers, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. You have a point. And then he gets adopted by a Yakuza guy, but he's not Yakuza, despite being adopted by the Yakuza. And then he becomes a lawyer, and he does his first big case, where he proves that a guy wasn't the murderer, but then that guy murdered someone, and then he feels guilty, so that guy gets sent to prison for murder, and then Yagami loses faith in himself as a lawyer, and people start ridiculing him for letting the murderer go. So he becomes a private investigator for reasons I don't quite understand. And then he continues to solve problems for people. But I guess he never makes a mistake like that ever again? Right? Because he now knows better. And then part of the storyline is like... The storyline makes it seem like Yagami failing that court case was a big deal in his life. And that him going back to law is supposed to be a big deal, but it's never really like explored at any point, right? We never really delve into that part of his character. We don't delve into why he's a detective. So all of that feels kind of irrelevant, right? And I would say the same for every other character in the game. But like Hamura, right? The Hamura storyline on paper could look interesting. You have this guy who's just kind of pushing his patriarch out of the family. He's taking control of the family. He's being a real bully and an awful person. And then the patriarch sacrifices himself for him. And it's like, what the hell? Why would he do this? I've done so much bad things to this guy. And then he has like a turnaround. And now he becomes kind of like a good guy, right? But it's also like the building blocks aren't there. Because before that happens, we barely spent any time with Hamura. And we don't care about the family that much because we haven't spent too much time with that either, right? And that's with everything. Like with the law office, with everything. It just feels like... It feels like the foundation is shoddy. So we just have like some of the building pieces. So nothing really feels like it matters. And that's just my overall problem with the story, really. We have all this, like... Nothing is, like, an exciting reveal either, because everything that's revealed... Nothing happens because Yagami is a good detective that knows what he's doing and is great at the law or great at discovering things. It all happens just as, like, exposition pieces where someone else reveals something or he stumbles onto some evidence, right? Which also doesn't feel good. So yeah, that should I don't think the story is good. I think Yagami is a decent character, but like if I imagine Yagami as the character with all the build-up he's supposed to have, it seems like a good character. I also think it would be more interesting if it was like him and Kaito running the detective agency rather than having like the detective agency be like a Kaito's just like a discount Yakuza that sometimes works with Yagami at the agency. Might have been cooler if they had if they shared that responsibility, I guess, but that's whatever. That's like a little nitpicky thing. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with the story. Like, I don't think the story is good. I think it has a lot of problems. Like the ending, like it's just some weird pointless stuff. Like, oh, I'm gonna make the guy's like making sure the cure works, and then he tries to stab Shono, and then Kaito throws a sofa at him, and then he goes down, and then he still stands up, and then the police shoot him. And then Shono's like, I fixed it, injects himself and dies. It's like, okay. I don't... I guess none of the bad guys get put to justice in this detective story. I don't know. I don't know. I think the game struggles in some other areas too. Which probably comes down to why I didn't enjoy the game too much. As per usual, I think the side cases were okay, and I think that the friendship stuff was okay overall. So Some of that stuff is pretty entertaining and fun. Some of it is pretty boring, and a lot of it is in the middle. But overall, like, I enjoy doing that more than I enjoy doing the main story in this. I think that there's a distinct lack of side activities in this. Like, we had road racing, which was cool. We had the VR thing, which is just mind-bogglingly unfun. It's just an RNG fest where you just roll a dice and go to places and you just leave with money. That's it, basically. Like, they don't have any cool mini games in there or anything, you know. Like, that could have been cool, right? If you land on something, go, now you have to do karaoke, now you have to do darts, now you have to, maybe you have to do that at the last one or something. I don't know, but I didn't experience that at least. Camera Rush and the Dead thing was fun, but that's also very short. So we don't have any karaoke, we don't have any of those other fun Yakuza mini games. No chat rooms, no call center, nothing like that. It was just kind of a little bit bland, I guess. And I think all of the detective stuff was borderline bad. I would hesitate to call the parts where you are. We can start with one thing here, which is like, let me just load. I can't load. Auto Dekunina. You beat it, GG's. I'm gonna beat you, little boy. Oh, damn it, I can't disguise myself. Okay, here's an intake looking through crime scenes. Here's one of the big here's some big problems with this game. You're supposed to be a detective. You're detecting and you're investigating, but a lot of it is bad or mediocre. So, really bad thing. This thing, main case. These case files keep being updated, but it's irrelevant because you don't need to know this information at all, right? Like, there's no point in the game where you ever have to access this case file. If you're doing like a proper investigation game, right? Something where you actually are investigating and you are in control, then this stuff would be invaluable, right? You would have to go in here and be like, ooh, oh wait, what did we find at the hospital again? All right, yeah, we found out that this guy, and ooh, okay, let me see, who are the suspects? Oh yeah, Shono and Kido and Shinpei Okobu, right? Like, in a proper investigation game, you have to go in here and constantly be like, okay, what's the deal? This is irrelevant, because the game doesn't rely on this at all, right? You don't need this for anything in the game. You don't need to know this, you don't need to be aware of it, and that's for two reasons. One, all the plot twists and detective stuff happens as part of the game, and it never relies on your input for anything, except for some cases where you have to decide what to say, but if you choose the wrong thing, you just choose the other thing afterwards. There's no punishment for failing. In some cases, you lose like 10 SP, which is nothing. That's less than you get for a random street fight. So that's your punishment for failing, right? So that's irrelevant. Looking through the crime scenes is probably the mechanic I like the most. Like Edward said, I didn't hate it, but it's also very basic and like specific, right? You just do this, and you're like, oh, let me look. Oh, okay. Oh, look at that. It just, it's another case where it's like you can't really fail it. You just have to keep looking around until you find the things you're supposed to be looking for, right? Which means that it feels a little bit lackluster. Because it's not like you are, it's not like I'm like looking through this crime scene and it's like, oh, there's blood in the ceiling. And then I find that and that like opens up new avenues for me. No. It's if there's blood in the ceiling, I have to find it, right? Otherwise I can't proceed. But this was okay. The other thing is like presenting evidence. You're told to present like, oh, which evidence was it that proved this thing? Again, you don't get punished for choosing wrong, so it feels a little bit pointless. But I think the worst, by far, side activity, detective activity, was the stalking people. That has to be maybe the worst mechanic I've seen in a video game in a long, long time. Just as an, like, it's bad for three reasons. One, it's very, very slow and unexciting. Two, there's no mechanic side to it. Or the mechanics that are tied to it are very simple, right? The mechanic is sometimes you have to have them in your camera. So if I'm stalking this guy, he has to be in my camera. So I can stand. If I'm standing here, that's fine, right? I don't have to be able to see him as my character. As long as he's in camera vision, we're good, right? So this counts, and that's stupid because he can't see me at all now, right? So no risk. So like if I'm stalking this guy, all I have to do is this, and that's the mechanic. That's the entire mechanic for it, right? And the third thing is that the people take the most convoluted paths imaginable to get where they want. As an example, I talked about this earlier. We call the guy to go to the secret lab, right? He is in the Millennium Tower. This is the Millennium Tower. The lab is here. This is where the lab is, okay? The way this guy goes there is that he leaves this building. He goes, there's an exit here, by the way. That's an exit. He leaves on the south side. He goes here. Then he goes up here. Then he goes over here. And then he stops here by this exit. And then he goes up here. And then he turns here. He goes around back down here. I think he goes all the way down. I don't remember. But I think he goes all the way down. Then he turns back. He goes back up here again. Goes left here. Then he goes down here. And then he goes back up here. Like, what? Just walk there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not exciting. Like, if I'm just following him, sure. He leaves here. He just walks up here. Cool. Great scene. Done with it, right? It's just so convoluted and pointless. But yeah, that's like, it's one of those things that it's just boring. Yeah. It's one of those things that when we talk about Yakuza 5, right? I said that Yakuza 5 has the problem where it felt like they introduced too many mechanics, so they couldn't flesh them out, right? You have the hunting mechanic, you have the taxi mechanic, you have the idle mechanics, right? You have all these mechanics all built into one game, right? And so you can be like, okay, we have all of these sub mechanics. Of course, they couldn't spend too much time on the hunting or on the taxiing or on the idle thing. They could only spend a little bit of time on everything. That's why it's so mediocre, right? You can be like, okay, cool, that makes sense to me, fine. But in this game, that doesn't exist, right? There's not 60 minigames, so there's no excuse why they couldn't have spent more time on those minigames, right? They should have been super exciting and fun to do, but they're not. They could at least add more cutscenes or things happening during that. Those people do nothing. Yes, exactly. Like, it should have been an event, right? It should be like maybe you have to like do like more quick time events, or you have to do like specific actions or hide the like maybe you have to like climb on the roof and like jump from roof to roof to follow a guy. You know, there's a bunch of shit you can do where it's like would have made it a little bit exciting, right? But instead it's just like you just walk after them, and then when they turn around you just do this, and that's it. That's the entire mechanic, right? Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I think I'll rant about Amon first. The menu looks cool, true. The Amon fight in this game is atrocious. I think that there's a problem with the design when part of the design is that the boss in the first phase has a chance to use an ability on you, which is hard to defend against, because the boss can randomly decide not to be stunned anymore, and the boss can randomly decide not to use the ability, and you don't have an ability usually to quickly cancel out what you're doing. And I think it's borderline the worst design I've ever seen, to have the boss do an ability in the first part of the boss fight, where he takes away your ability to use consumables on yourself permanently for the fight, but he only does that in phase 1. Meaning that as long as you dodge that in phase 1, the rest of the fight is easy peasy, right? If that was a highly choreographed charge up move, you know, that you almost have to like fall into, sure, that is your fault, right? But it's still stupid, but then it's at least your fault. The fact that he can just, like, I can be punching him, and he can just decide to go, and then he grabs your phone, like, that's awful. The rest of the fight too was garbage, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I will say though that the gameplay in this game is great. Like the fighting is great. I had a lot of fun with the fighting. The fighting is it's intuitive enough in this that it's easy to get into. It's not most of the fights were frustrating. I didn't get too involved in it, but like it was easy to see his actions. I like the way he actually filled up. The two problems I would say, the two actual problems with it is, one, the wounds are garbage. The wounds just aren't fun. Getting wounded doesn't feel satisfying. It doesn't feel deserved often, and it costs a lot of money to deal with, so it's just kind of obnoxious. And two, the street fights are too plentiful and too hard to avoid. And that's just obnoxious, right? Like, generally speaking, if you want a street fight, you should be able to street fight, and you should be able to fight street fights. But more often than not, when I'm running around, I just want to get from point A to point B, and I don't want to randomly end up in a street fight every time, or sometimes end up in 10 street fights, you know, just running through the city. I don't think that's good. I think that's, like, pretty bad, so... Now that I have all the, like, negatives out of the way, you know, I've said this before, I think it's easier to, like, criticize games than it's, like... If there are things to criticize, I think it's easier to criticize than to say things are positive. But this game is fine. You know, it's not the worst game ever made. It's not a sinking city. Where's Judgement on this list? Wait, Judgement isn't even on the list. Judas. Alright guys, well, Judgement isn't on the list. What am I supposed to do? It's written oh no, it's not either. Judgement, like this. Is it top 3 in Yakuza series or bottom 3? I would rather replay any other Yakuza game probably than this one. But it has to be said that, once again, it has to be reiterated that I like the Yakuza games because of Kiryu and Majima. That's it. Sejima, I like Sejima too. I'm like, you know, I've slowly fallen for Sejima, but that's also a lot because of his relation to both Kiryu and Majima. Akiyama, Haruka I love. Haruka's also great. But Akiyama I'm okay with. I don't like his new face in 6, but other than that, I like Akiyama. But beyond that, like, I don't care about Daigo that much. Daigo's okay. I don't care about any other characters in those games. But like, one thing that this game was missing for me to really a couple of things this game was missing for me to really make it feel like a proper Yakuza game are like really big awesome moments where you do badass things and it feels badass, right? Like there's no scene here where I'm Majima and I throw my can we find that scene? Can I just look for that scene real quick? I just want to say the scene one more time. I just want to have a good example of what I'm talking about. This scene. Like, there was no scene like this. By the way, spoilers for Yakuza 0. It's in the top 2 Judgement games for sure. For so far, yeah. I can agree with that.
Makoto.
Hell yeah! Seriously, like, how do you compete against that? How do you compete? There's no scene like that in Judgment. There's not even close. And I mean, almost every Yakuza game I played so far has at least one scene like that. We were like, oh, ooh, with rubber bullets. I mean, rubber bullets is stupid, but here's the thing: I can accept stupidity as long as the plot is wacky and twisty and stupid, and as long as there's at least some awesome quick release shirt, sandal jackets, as shirts and jackets. I can accept a bit of stupidity as long as there's some awesome moments in there, right? Like Yakuza 6 has a lot of stupid stuff in it. It's just a really stupid game, but at least it's a lot of really cool scenes, right? Like, let's do another one. I want to find. I don't know if I can find this one. Oh man, I'm looking to find the scene. Oh, this is just all the boss fights. I can't find it. This? Is this shit? Yeah, okay, so to find out was peak stupidity, but also awesome. Yeah, for sure. But also, like this scene was also great in 6. 6 was a very stupid game. For people that haven't played, spoiler alert by the way, but just so we're all contextually clear here, they're holding a gun against Haruka's head, and then Kiryu's just getting his ass beat. It's in order to fight back, so just getting his ass beat.
Huh?
Sledgehammer to the face. Holy shit, that guy's dead. Oh shit! I love moments like this. I have to pull the jacket off. Come on, Kiryu. Hell yeah! I got something else. That's the point. Little bit. End of the line, that's my name. That's my Yakuza 6 Song of Life. Yeah, that's My point isn't that every game needs to have this. My point is that if you're gonna have a stupid story, you better at least have some awesome moments in it, right? That's kind of what I'm saying. Like all the Yakuza stuff is really stupid. It's all nonsensical. Nothing makes sense. There's hidden battleships kept underwater, rubber bullets. Like it's all just really, really, really stupid and bad. But at least they have these like really, really awesome set piece moments where you can go like, damn, that like I would play through an entire game just for one scene like that easily, even if the entire game was just fighting Amon over and over again in Judgment. And we just didn't have any scenes like that in this one, right? Like we had no scenes where it felt like there was like a lot of stakes and some really epic stuff was happening, right? It just, I don't know, it just felt a little bit mediocre. But yeah, hey, listen, I'm gonna give this game a 6.5. I, like I don't know where else to put this thing. Like on the scale, a 6 is alright play if you like the genre. 7 is good play if it sounds fun. 6.5 is like if you're super into the Yakuza games and you really like, I don't know if this is like a Japanese storytelling thing or whatever, but if you're super into the Yakuza games and you know you love this like the Yakuza storytelling thing, you'll probably love this game. It's probably a great game for you. If you're like me and you're kind of more into some of the characters rather than the storylines, this is a bit hard to get into. I think Yagami is I think Yagami is a good character. I think you could definitely grow on me if I got to see a bit of a deeper side of him. I think Kaito is cool. Some of the other characters we encountered, it was kind of cool how it all came together. But ultimately, like I just feel like I actually, is this the lowest I've rated the game even? Ooh, okay, yeah. It's like Yagami. Okay, lowest rated Yakuza games. Perfect. Yeah, ultimately for me, it's just like it's it gets like if it wasn't for like let's say this had the same gameplay as like Yakuza 1 or 2 or 3. Let's say this had like Yakuza 3 gameplay. This would be like a 5.9 for me or something. You know what I mean? Like this gets away with having a lot of the mechanics are refined from previous Yakuza games. That's great. Phone menu stuff was fine. The way level of skills was good. The side activities are okay. The ones that are there. Drone racing was a fun new thing. The story is overall okay, but very nonsensical and very lacking in a lot of areas. The characters are fine. The like music and stuff is whatever. So you know, overall, I would say like decent game. I enjoyed my relatively long journey with it. Let's see what critics have to say. 8.3. What do you think people on time to beat? What do you think people on Steam have to say about this game? More options. Reject all. Oh, let me. So 27.5, 98.5. Ja. Okay. Ja.
Men vi skal levere bil, og jeg er egentlig så
Jeg skal ta med bikkjene, men du kan jo bare lage så...
Det regner ute da.
Hæ?
Regner?
Ja, man får ikke gjort noe med det, jeg.
Nei. Jeg steker.
Jeg kan jo bare lage deg komme hjem. Du kan lage nå, så kan jeg bare fikse deg komme hjem. Ok. Judgement. Oh, I don't know why I add the EO is 69.9 hours, guys. That's pretty good. Nice. Judgement. That's we've done it. We played 2 Yakuza games this year. Maybe we'll get 3. Maybe I'll play 7. Surely I'll have time after we play Wrath of the Righteous, right? We have 2 games over 200 hours. I got 900k points. No. The worst part is that you like earn most of your points back by the time I'm done with Wrath. If you watch every stream, you'll straight up just earn most of your points back. Unannounced. Played. There's something else I was thinking about, but I completely forgot what it was. Alright, I wanted to see what people on Steam had to say about Judgement. Judgement. I only like reading the negative reviews. Loki preferred this over the Oxford. This guy is insane. What is this guy like? Oh, I didn't want to look at that. How do you see what they reviewed? Who was that? This guy. 20 reviews. Okay, this is censored. I don't know what that is. Fairs to Fathom. Hogwarts Legacy, Space Marine 2, Dragon Ball Sparfing? Until Then. What is this game? I'm gonna click it on a porting it by accident. It's kinda cute. They only care about negative reviews. What do people have to say? Literally unplayable after the second game despite having a less stupid story, but extremely predictable. Fan, this game lacks a character and is a loop of errand, find X. That's true. Good point. Arigato, Naruto, Baka, Samurai, Genshi, Shinobi, Dama, Kiryu-kun, Yuwaina. Huh. I mean, this is also pretty true, I would say. This is the worst RGG game I have played. There's less variety in combat than in Yakuza 3. Just skip this game and go play Lost Judgment. It's 100 times better. Cons, graphics, utter ass compared to every other title. What? Combat, clunkier, slower, more boring than Eddie. What? Pros, the story is good. Wow, you nailed the only part that doesn't make something a video game. What? Who is this person? This person is insane. AI generated review? Best RPG ever made on the planet. Just play it, it's worth it. Probably the best buggy RPG I've played. What are these games? Oh, he really likes Like a Dragon and big fan of Error. The games don't know what makes story good. Like, yeah, I agree. No right to ownership. No, I don't own the game. No. Can I click the clown? I gotta be logged in probably, yeah. Must have been Visa nuked. I think a big thing when we talk about like stories in games too is like the thing I said at the start, my disclaimer, which is like I have problems with the story that I think are fundamental storytelling problems, but this can be your favorite story, right? There are people on the positive side who are like, this is my favorite Dark Side game. Great. You know what I mean? Like I think that the things that I think that my criticisms of the story are very legitimate and things that most people should probably care about. But ultimately, if people think this is great, then what about German Akiyama? Can't have sex with Kaito. That's true. Play Judgment, named similar to Yakuza 0 karaoke song. Look inside, no karaoke. So good. I mean, it's true. You may have heard that this game has separate English translation and played with English dub or Japanese voice. You may have made assumption that the subtitles track would be accurate to the Japanese script. You would be mistaken. What? Is he just saying that like the subtitles are just the English translation rather than just being like subtitles for the Japanese? Because I can believe that, and because I noticed they were saying things a bit differently than what I'm used to based on the subtitles. Why are they saying this is the worst in any RPG game? Am I crazy, or is the combat in this game great? I played it hard. I had, like, except for that almond fight, I basically had no problems with it. Crying about translations, yeah. Mortal wounds. Cutscenes are rarely paced and I have interruption them, so in the middle of cutscene it just stops and you have to talk. Yeah, that was annoying too. I agree with that thing. It can't be worse in Access 3 or 6. I don't know. I thought it was fine. Oh yeah, well, listen. Overall decent game, everyone. Good job. I'm proud of you. That's gonna be it for me today. I thought that we would have like at the most 3 hours left of this game. Like I thought, like okay, we'll play 3 hours of Judgment and then we'll spin the wheel. But turns out that for some reason the last chapter in the game is like 4 hours long or something. So, I mean, what can I do? But also Dualis redeemed the Wrath of the Righteous. But since I've been talking about spinning the wheel, we are gonna spin the wheel. We'll probably do like 3 to 4 games depending on how long they are. Like if I roll 2 games that are like 20 plus hours, then of course not. But if I roll, you know, a bunch of short games, let's just say we'll do like a week, 1 to 2 weeks of like spinny wheels, depending on how I roll them. So we'll start Wrath in like 2-ish weeks, like a week and a half, if that's okay with Dualius. Like not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that would probably be like my date that I would set, depending on if we're like in the middle of a game then or not. But I just want to spin the wheel a bit to just get some of those games out of the way. We have a lot of games here. I'm not going to spin it now because I think it's more fun to just spin it at the start of the next stream. That way I don't know what I'm going to be doing. But we have a ton of games here, and most of these games here, just so people are aware, is like it's either short games that I have on my wish list or short games that people have suggested to me a while ago. For the most part, there are some newer games in there too, but for the most part, I looked at my list, this thing, and I just looked at like, okay, what games have people suggested, and like how long ago did they suggest the game? I've just been like, okay, let me just kind of try to get through some of these. So if your game is on the list, it might be a longer game, or you might have suggested recently, or I could have just missed it. But that's generally the idea of the list. It's like I just want to get through some shorter games. So we'll spin this next time. See what we land on. That's it for me. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Hope everyone had a fantastic video gaming time. I'll be back regular time on Thursday at our regular schedule hour, 10:00 North time, 10 p.m., 10 a.m. GMT +2 schedule. It's down there in your local time zones. We'll be playing a random game. I'll spin the wheel, start a stream. We'll see what happens, and we'll all have fun and share and you know, make love, I guess. But yeah, that's gonna be for me. I'm just gonna head out. I'm gonna go walk the dogs in a tiny bit of rain, which should be a very enjoyable experience for me and the whole family. And then you know, I got some She-Hulk to watch. Very important. Yeah, sorry about no wheel spin today. Judgment was overall okay, above average, decent, but I look forward to trying 7. Honestly, I hope 7's gonna capture me a bit more, and I hope that the turn-based combat is gonna be fun. That's where I'm at. Love you all. Appreciate you all. I will see you all in a couple of days on Thursday. Have a great. Oh, if you're new here, feel to follow the stream on Discord, all that good stuff. Have a great rest of your Tuesdays and your Wednesday. Keep fighting fouls and bye-bye. The dance. Macabre.